God. Greetings, guys. I hope you're all doing good. Vince SP here. Welcome to another edition of the Express Online. I have Roche Mamabolo on the line with me, who is the founder of Laura Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. He's also the author and a co-curator of Materex Johannesburg, the author of a book called The Startup Revolution, Fit In or Stand Out. I'm not sure when he will be giving us another book though, but what I know is that the book is done. The book is done. He is just refusing to release this book. I don't know why. I don't know when. Leadership, maybe if you could, before we can get into that, when is your book coming out?
Greetings, Vince and the viewers. The book is ready. There were just some, some technical glitches that we needed to sort out with the printers and the designers. But the book is ready. I'm hoping that maybe later, August, September, we'll officially launch it, and you'll actually have it in your. I actually have it somewhere here.
Is it?
So yes, the book is
nice.
Done. We obviously did the first print and then went through it. So the whole quality control process, but it's ready.
Oh, the book is ready. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Leadership. The gig economy. Yes. The gig economy. We touched on this the other day. We didn't dwell deep into it, and I think now is our perfect time to get deep into it. Yeah. Has it always been there? Because when some people talk about gigs, they talk about going to play at an event, going to perform somewhere, So mostly it has been looked into artists, not professionals. Am I wrong to say that?
You are right. Actually, how the gig economy started, the word the gig comes from jazz artists who historically would go to a jazz club and perform. So that's where the whole word gig comes from. Artists, mainly specifically jazz artists who had gigs to perform at a jazz club, and that's where the term comes from, the gig economy. But prior to the gig economy, the word that we usually used to use, and sometimes even use even today, is piece job, right? You have our parents and our grandparents would always say, "I'm going to look for a piece job," right? Which is basically a short-term, temporary piece of work that you need to do, and at the end of that, then you get paid. So that's how through the evolution of technology, it then went into what we call the gig economy, and it's now being called also the sharing economy. But people from urban areas say it was called a piece job, and obviously as time went on through evolution of technology, now then it became a gig through the artists, but now it's also getting to becoming sort of like the sharing economy, and we'll talk about that as time goes. But it's nothing new. Maybe the terminology is different and it's evolving, but the concept itself is not new. It started in the 1900s, from when the concept of a job, was conceptualized, through the industrialization, where you had people who went to a factory and work, but because there were not enough jobs then, or there were not enough jobs at the factories, then came the offshoot of I don't mind doing those small odd jobs, and that's what the piece job concept came about. And throughout time, it grew because when the Industrial Revolution started, it was mainly full-time jobs. Full-time jobs Um, and then in some instances, you would have part-time jobs, right? And then came the piece jobs, because there's also a difference. Came the piece jobs. The piece jobs would be as and when I need you, you come and you do this thing. As when my grass is high, then I'll call you, you come, you do it, and I'll pay you. You know, but what we are seeing is, because a lot of factories, a lot of industries are, and you can fast forward to what's happening today with COVID. A lot of these economies and factories are laying off, their workers. Then you have this increase or the rise in part time, but also a huge rise in the gig economy. So it's slowly but surely we are seeing that the gig economy is rising, and what COVID is doing is it's actually accelerating that rise. But it's not a new concept. The terminology might be new, but how the concept works has been there for a while.
But then what this does actually, it kills this, thing where we knew jobs. One person would work for this company for close to 15 years, 20 years. That is dying. So which means this thing that a person would actually grow inside the company is a thing of the past. Your thoughts on that?
True, you're right, Vince, because what you're then having now is, so it's multiple approach to this thing. One is the fact that the lifespan, the lifespan of an average company is reducing, right? And it's slowly but surely reducing. Some will say it's reduced from 60 something years to 15 years, for instance, because of how technology is disrupting how companies work. So you then have a situation where most companies, on average, their lifespan are reducing, because of competition, because of disruption, because of technology. And what that then results in is, it results in, the possibility of me working for a company for 15 years also reducing, because of the lifespan of the company is reducing, right? But what it also, so that's the one aspect of it, that the life cycle or the lifespan of companies are reducing. But also the fact that because that is happening, employees are now looking at how can they then look for other options when companies are closing down. How can I keep myself looking for, still working, and that's when the whole aspect of, looking for other jobs come in. But there's also another aspect to it, millennials, and Generation Z today are people who, you know, uh, the concept or the prospect of being loyal to an organization for a very long time, it doesn't sit very well with them. They question everything. They ask questions. They, their loyalty does not necessarily lie to a company anymore. Their loyalty lies to, is this working? Is this true to myself, to my convictions, to my values? And if they feel that this is not to their values, then they move on to something else. They look at new challenges. So I'll work here for 5 years. Once I've reached a certain stage, I'm no longer challenged. I'm going to look for something else, and then they move, or they look for new challenges.
They would look into longevity that one used to have, from the previous companies. If maybe, for example, you worked in a company A for 5 years and company B for 4 years, it means, well, you were going to be a good employee, unlike when you have worked in a company A for 6 months, the next thing you've worked there for 3 months. I guess, this has disrupted, everything. Even with HR, it's also been disrupted.
True. I think previously, you're right. It used to be that, when you move around quite a lot, it was marked against you in an interview, because it was a sign that you're not a stable person. Somebody who job hops around,
Mhm.
and therefore them hiring you means that they need to be prepared for you to leave in 6 months to a year. That has always been my position. But I think slowly but surely, you look at companies who are introducing contract work now far more than before, where they will say, let's put you in a 12 months contract. And I've seen also government is going that route as well. Let's put you in a 12 months contract or 24 months contract, because just to mitigate ourselves against us having long-term expectations and you having short-term expectations. So you'll find that most companies are opting for that, to have you for 12 months, and they'll review, if you want to leave. And by designing a 12 months contract, it's in such a way that by the time they get to the 12th month, they are at a point where they're reaching a milestone, so that when you leave, that they prefer evening, they prefer working from home. So you need to be flexible if you want to keep them for long, if you're in an organization. And one of the things that I've been advising some of the entrepreneurs who are working with millennials is, in order for you to keep them longer, give them a contract or a project that they'll work on for a longer period. And let it be that the project that you give them is something that they own, because they are likely to stay long if they feel ownership of a project. And if that project prolongs, they'll want to see it to fruition because they feel it's theirs and they want to see it to fruition. So if it's a 24 months a project, let it be that it's something that they came up with, that they buy into, they believe in, and they are also sort of leading it. That way, they'll stay for 24 months. But if they don't feel ownership of anything, after a while, if something better comes, they move. So you find that the gig economy is mostly driven by millennials. They are the ones who the gig
Okay.
economy actually fits their values and their profile and their style of how they want their
Leadership. So since you're saying millennials are the one who will, who are to drive this thing, especially going forward, because definitely our parents are used to working for companies for a very long time. Let's take it to entrepreneurs. How is this affecting their businesses? Do we still have those businesses that will continue running for 15 years plus?
Okay. So when it comes to entrepreneurship, also there's two ways to look at it, at this. So the one way is I'm running a business and I obviously employ people, right?
Mm.
So a classic example of um, a gig economy that a lot of people would relate to or would know is Uber or Uber Eats or Mr. Deliver. Those are your classic uh, 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 gig economies. So yes, I need to start looking at how do I keep these young people active? How do I keep them interested? But also, I need to be able to give them the freedom to set their own goals. So if I'm running a pizza parlor, for instance, I need to, as I'm working, I need to have people who are going to do deliveries for my pizza, and those are the people who will, through a delivery mode, will have the freedom to say, I want to come to work or I don't want to come to work. I want to
Mm.
deliver or I don't want to deliver. If I
Mm.
come to work, I deliver more, I make more money. If I come to work, I deliver less, I make less money. So from that point of view, it affects my business value chain. It goes with, if I want people who are going to do the pizza in my parlor, in my pizza parlor, I'm gonna have to have those people who, if they decide to come, if they don't decide to come, but I have a flexible model where if they come, we are able to work. If they don't, someone else will come. So it's sort of like a sharing economy. Same with Airbnb. I don't necessarily have to work for a full-time hotel, for instance. I can rent out my room, and there'll be those people who will come in as and when they want to come in, and they'll use my room, my space as and when they are available to use my space. So as an entrepreneur running a big operation, I need to take that into account. But as somebody who's a consultant or a freelancer or a photographer type of a thing, I need to also look into how do I package my offerings, which platforms do I use to advertise my services, Instagram, Facebook, and all those kind of things, and where do I get clients, and what are my rates, what am I charging, what's the payment terms, when do I get paid, is it a deposit before I start working and the balance is paid at the end after I've done the work. So we need to start looking at how do we as entrepreneurs or as freelancers package our time, our offerings, and how do we market ourselves. If I use LinkedIn as an instance, do I need to show my projects in there? Are they endorsed by my previous customers? Are they happy? What rating do I get? And things like that. So from a freelancer entrepreneur point of view, I need to be able to package myself very nicely. That's the one. The other aspect is, I'm an Uber driver, for instance. And I sell myself as an Uber driver. There are so many other opportunities that I can get. If I work 24 hours, I make more money. My rating is high, my car is clean. If I do deliveries and things like that. So yes, there is so many opportunities to being an entrepreneur as a kid. You don't make money, there's no pension, so you don't have a union, your rates often are determined by someone else, not yourself. So there are drawbacks to that. So on the one hand, there's flexibility and independence. I don't feel like working today, I want to take a day off. It's really up to you. You don't make money. Yeah. I feel like, okay, I don't want to work in the morning, I want to work at night as an Uber driver. Again, it's really up to you. So there's that flexibility and there's that independence. You determine what your goals are, you determine what the targets are for the day, for the week, for the month. It's really up to you. There's that flexibility as well. But the disadvantage is there's no pension, there's no medical if you're sick during this.
Everyone will already be happy.
Yeah, So you need to be able to balance the two. You need to know, if I'm going to do this thing, I need to have different clients, I need to have all these things. But at the same time, also understand that there are disadvantages to this. It's not just the flexibility that you also get.
True.
But a lot of people don't mind having that. A lot of people say, as long as I have my independence and my flexibility, I don't mind. Others say, especially if you have those who come from the old way of working, they feel like, they need unions, they need representation. They feel like, what, I come from where I was protected. If I'm sick, there's all these sick benefits. I also want them. Yeah. So I also want those, in the gig economy, and sometimes that's the shit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Leadership, we only left with 5 minutes in wrapping it up. How do we wrap up?
I think with regard to what's happening with COVID, a lot of people are losing their jobs, and we don't know how long this thing will last. I think considering being a gig or freelancer, it's not a bad idea, as a way of paying the bills and making ends meet, as a way of survival. And hopefully, after the pandemic, there might be those opportunities for permanent jobs. But at the moment, if you're being laid off, consider being a gig worker as an option to pay the bills in the meantime.
Leadership, thank you so much. Those who would like to get in contact with you, how do they get? Okay, so yeah, social media, get him go Roche Mamabolo across all platforms, Facebook, Twitter. I'm not sure if he's on Instagram. So yeah, thank you so much, leader. Let's talk again in the future then.